Hey everybody, my name is Michael McDowell, and I wanted to talk about leadership drift. What is leadership drift and how do you navigate through it? There's a gap between building knowledge and taking action in the classroom or in the staff room. The knowledge gap is that challenge of confronting this gap between knowing and doing. How do we turn knowledge into action so that we can produce measurable results for kids and for the staff that we are in charge of? The most effective leaders stand in the middle between developing knowledge and executing action. That is, you've got knowledge over here, you've got action right here. Leaders, we are in the middle. And we are working on executing those actions from moving from knowing into doing and doing back into knowing. The leader stands there in that gap between that knowing and doing and working to reduce the friction for teachers to move from that new knowledge into action. And once they take that action, getting some of that evidence and going back and saying, what is that new knowledge? Now, the most effective leaders recognize that their job isn't to be the knowledgeable person in the group or the doer in the group, but to facilitate the work of faculty to build and develop that knowledge and inspect impact. Leaders move out of their important work of ensuring teams convert knowing into doing and doing into knowing. That's when they drift. And they drift from the middle, and now they play the role of the knower and the doer, which means that teachers, our staff, they're not engaging in their primary work, which is what's that new knowledge that we gain from evidence or from some professional learning, and how do we drive that action with some level of precision and consistency? This places teachers out of that action. And now no one is ensuring that the conversion between knowing and doing is occurring. So leaders can drift. We can drift because of certain pressures that we face that teams might be struggling or confused. And what we have to do is support them in developing some of that knowledge and moving over into action or taking that action and coming back. So leaders can manage this drift by doing a few things when they are working with teams. Number one, engage with teams with a sense of compassion for everyone's place in their own learning. This means start by modeling using both advocacy and inquiry in your statements. Try to get a balance of that. Ask thoughtful questions and at the same time, advocate for, we need to move into some small doable actions. We need to get 1% better tomorrow. What does that evidence tell us? What can we do when we leave this meeting? Who does what by when? So you're moving people into action, but you're asking questions of what's that step that we can take? What's one small doable thing that you think you can move the needle on for students? Number two, don't stress the solution. Stress the solution criteria. You're not there to tell people to do a certain thing. You're there to make sure that teams agree around some key criteria that's going to get students more than 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. What we do want is a solution. We want them to come to a solution, and then we need to get out of the way. And the best way we can do that is focus on the criteria that will make a great solution, but not focus so much in our minds on what is the best solution. Number three, lead with courage. And that requires you to go slow and stay small in the work. 1% better each and every day. Your job is to help teams shrink the change and find readily available evidence from students that's meaningful to teachers. And then for teachers to come up with small doable practices that they could go and do right then and there with their students. Think of this as you're a lunch pail leader. You're there every single day, day in, day out, trying to help teams get 1% better and get some evidence to say, are we getting that 1% better? When we stay in the middle between knowing and doing, and we don't drift, we're in the best space and leaders. We lead from the middle, and that makes a great impact. Thanks, everybody.